Now Oakley's at the point in her training that we're going to go ahead and start working on some of the body control and maneuverability exercises. She still can be kind of jumpy sometimes, but it gets better with each ride. And the best thing for her at this point is to get her mind focused on a job and what I'm asking her to do. So she already knows disengaging, obviously. We do that a lot when we're starting horses, but we'll go ahead and just check in with her a little bit. I'm going to ask her to the right, which is our harder side. Good girl. And then I'll switch around and ask her to the left. Good. Much easier on that side, so you can tell where she's a little bit stickier. So now, you know, at this point, you could go into moving the shoulder, or you could start with your turn on the haunches, and it just is going to totally vary for each horse which is going to be the best next step for them. So let's play with moving her shoulder, and what I'm going to do is have her in a walk, and it's not really a leg yield because I don't really care too much about the hind stepping up underneath her is not really important right now. What I'm looking for is that she move off of my indirect rein and off of my inside leg and just pick her shoulder up and move over a step, okay? So it doesn't necessarily have to be pretty. Generally, when you're working on picking up the shoulder, they're gonna over-exaggerate the bend. That's fine. This is your beginning stage to then your leg yield, which should be, you know, straighter, a lot smoother and nicer. But this is usually where I start with them. So we'll go ahead and play with that a little bit. And I'll go ahead and start on her left. So I'm going to pick up my left rein and put my left leg on her. I'd like her to keep walking, and I just want her to move her shoulder over just a little bit. And she's wanting to turn in a circle and argue a little bit, and so I just hold and wait until she'll move off. There, so we got a little step, and I don't know that you could see it, but I could feel it. So now I'll ask her again, same side. Left rein comes up and over, and my left leg comes on. And I'd like her to stay walking, but she's not really sure what to do with the pressure. And she wants to go in a circle, but that's not what I'm asking. Even though I've got her head bent to the left, I don't want her just circling. I want her to move over. Good. Good girl. So ideally she'd be walking, but we're gonna go ahead and give it to her. Now she needs to get in and walk again. She kind of wanted to lock up on me there, so I just kind of break up that stiffness and get her going again. And because she struggles a little bit, I'm going to stay on the same side until she starts to get the idea. Good, much better. That was way better, good girl. Okay, we'll go to do the left again one more time. Good. Good. Not too bad. The last one was a little bit smoother, but she was kind of wanting to stop on this one, but it wasn't bad. She was figuring out that she's not supposed to just turn in a circle, that I wanted to actually pick her shoulder up. So now we're going to go ahead and try to the right a couple times. So my right rein comes up and over, and my right leg comes on, and same thing, she's just wanting to turn into a circle. And I'm not going to let her. I'm just going to stay here with her until she can move off my leg. Okay, she was thinking about it. There you go. Not perfect, but she's heading in the right direction. So now I'm going to ask her again, pick up my right rein. My right leg comes on. There she goes. Good. Again, not smooth, but she's starting to get the idea that she needs to move over. Ask again. Still going off of that right rein and right leg. Okay, not bad. And as we work on it, it'll start to smooth out as she gets the idea better. I don't want her stopping though. There's that jumpiness that's still in there. But she's going to have to work through it and learn not to be so reactive and to work with me instead. Okay, that was something. Thank you. Because when she gets too much pressure on, she wants to just be reactive and get out of it. And she needs to learn that she has to respond the way I'm asking her to and move off of the pressure and not just fight or run her way out of it, because that's not going to work. And she's never going to get anywhere in any sort of riding career, even as a pleasure horse, if she thinks that she can just spook or run or fight her way out of something. She's going to have to learn that she needs to give to that pressure. So if I get in a sticky situation, I'll just tip her head around and wait till she disengages. Even though it didn't move the shoulder, she still had to move off my leg. And that's the key here, is that she's learning that she needs to move sideways off of my leg and not just forward or not just startle or not just stop and shut down. She needs to move off of the pressure. So again, if you get kind of stuck, you go ahead into a disengagement is fine. Okay, started to shut down a little bit, but she gave me something right before she stopped. I'm gonna keep on her though. There, better. Good girl. So let's change it up, just so she doesn't get too bored. We'll go to the left and see what that side's looking like. And then we'll come back to the right again later. Good, so she gave me a step over. And then I'll ask her again, left rein, left leg. Good, good. I got a couple steps over. Great job. So now I'll ask off of my right rein and right leg. Good. So still kind of wanting to shut down, but at least she's getting the idea a little bit and kind of giving me a step over. Right rein and right leg again. There she goes. We got a little step over. Yes, much better. Great job. So she didn't shut down quite so bad that time. And that's what we want, is her to keep that fluidity of the movement and, you know, pay attention to what I'm asking, not to just run forward, but not to shut down on me either. There's going to be that happy middle ground that she's going to have to find. Good, not bad. Starting to smooth out a little bit. Good girl. So now I'm going to switch to the turn on the haunches, because I don't like to do any one thing for so long that the horses get bored or get frustrated and start to try to find a way out of it. So you want to do it long enough that the horse starts to make progress, but if you drill them too much trying to look for that perfection, then they're going to start to either get frustrated and fight, or they're going to shut down, or they're going to, you know, look for other evasive techniques, and they're going to start to think that they're not doing it correctly. So you want to get some improvement, get them taking some steps in the right direction, and then go on to something else. And you could come back later in your ride and play with it again a little bit, but you don't want to just drill and drill and drill on one thing, especially if you're working with a younger horse. You know, like she's only 3, so she's going to have a lot shorter attention span than a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old or 15-year-old. And it just depends on the horse. Some horses are a lot more patient and, you know, have a longer attention span. Other horses, generally you'll find in horses that have a much higher IQ, tend to get bored faster and will start to do, you know, what people will call naughty things, but because that horse is just getting bored doing that same thing over and over again and looking for something interesting. And then you also have horses that are next day learners, and you know, the best thing you can do if you have a next day learner is to acknowledge the fact that you have one. And those are the kinds of horses that they'll make a little bit of progress that day, and, you know, not necessarily have it spot on, but they'll kind of maybe start to get the idea. And then you go out the next day and they're just act like they've been doing it all their life. So the best thing you can do with the next day learner, absolutely don't drill them. You're only going to confuse them more. Play with something a little bit, get them a couple steps in the right direction, you know, end on a good note, even if it seems like they maybe don't totally have it, but you know, they're starting to pick it up a little bit, and you know, you get a couple good steps from them, quit them there, and then the next day go back to it again, and your horse will make a huge improvement. So the worst thing you can do is try to drill a horse too much and get that perfection right off the bat, because like I said, they're just going to get bored and frustrated. So I'm going to go on to the turn on the haunches with her, and then we'll come back and play with the shoulder again a little bit. And so again, all we're doing right now is trying to get a little bit of that maneuverability and get her focused on a job, or get her focused on something to do, so that, you know, she keeps her attention on me a little better and is less likely to be distracted and get spooky. So with my turn on the haunches, and because she was kind of wanting to shut down when I picked up the shoulder, I'm going to expect she'll probably do the same thing for this. I'm going to do it from a walk. So I've got her walking in a circle, and I've got my inside rein is going to control her inside front leg. So when her right leg steps up, I'm going to move it over, move it over, move it over. She's got to keep walking though. Move it over. See how she's wanting to shut down on me, so I just urge her forward. Move it over, move it over. And then I'll bring my outside aids, my left leg and left rein. Good. And get one step over with the front. Okay, so that was a pretty decent step for the first time asking her. She didn't shut down at least, so I'm going to go to the other side. And so left rein controls the left front foot, and every time that foot goes to step, I'm going to move it over, keep her walking, move it over, and then my outside aids come on. Good, and I walk her out of it. Because you notice on both sides, she kind of wanted to take a step backwards as she went into it. And I'm not going to get after her for it, but I don't want to encourage it either. And so you walk them in, walk them out. Because it's really important to do the turn on the haunches correctly, that outside front leg is crossing over. So it needs to be a forward movement. If the horse is too focused on backing up, they'll end up crossing under. So my outside aids come over. Good, little step there, good girl. And we're not looking for perfection again, we're looking for a step in the right direction. So if she's moving off of my aids and giving a good, good shot trying to figure out what I'm asking, then we're going to release to her. Step over, outside aids come on, nice. One good step, good girl. So my inside rein, steps over, keep her walking, step over, outside aids, come on. And she's not really responding yet, but she'll get there. See, again, she gets distracted. And then when I gave her a little kick, it kind of bothered her because she was too focused on wanting to resist and not paying attention to what I'm asking. And so that's why we're doing these exercises with her. Of course, you want the maneuverability too, but with her, we're trying to get her over that distracted spookiness and get her paying attention and working with me a lot better than what she wants to. So I'm asking with my inside rein, and then my outside leg and outside rein come over. Good. But I want her to keep a little bit better walk. Good. Good girl. Okay, now we'll go to the left. Then my outside aids come on. Good, not bad. And that was better. She didn't want to shut down so much or back up into it. She actually kind of walked into it and walked out. And outside aids. I'm going to stay with her, and I've got my right leg is back until she'll move off. But I don't want that hind end moving into my leg here. She's got to move her shoulders. Good. Okay, that was something pretty sticky, but she gave me a step, so I'll give it to her and walk her out of it. And you see what happens when the horse starts to shut down, they shift their weight onto their front end, and then that hind end wants to swing out. And so that's why you keep it forward, so that you can rock them back onto the hind and ask the front end to move. Better response. Good girl. She kind of shut down for a second there, but then she came right out of it. Good girl. Okay, could have been better. But again, I released her. Anytime she takes that step in the right direction, she gets a release. And then as we practice, it'll improve. See how she's wanting to resist a little? There she goes. But when I bring that outside rein over, she's wanting to kind of play with her head and resist it, and she's going to have to smooth it out. And she'll learn that she doesn't get the release then. That doesn't do anything for her. I'll just hold and wait, and I can stay there all day long. So it's not going to do anything for her to want to resist the bit and want to toss her head at all. She's going to have to move her feet where my reins and my leg are asking her to, and that's where she gets her release. Good girl. So I'll probably just go a few more times and see how, then we'll check in on our moving the shoulders. Okay, good girl. And I'll probably quit her, you know, after I get a couple good move the shoulders over. But like I said, you don't want to drill this too much all at one time. Okay. And as I'm doing this stuff with her, even though she still is a little bit distracted occasionally when she sees something going on around outside of the round pin, good, that was much better. But overall, I can feel her paying better attention to me and not wanting to just, you know, be looking all over the place, startling at everything. Good, much better. See how it's starting to smooth out? And so punishing her for tossing her head isn't going to help, okay, because you're just end up confusing them more. And so your best bet is just to hold steady when they want to do that. At her level, sometimes when the horses are really bad, then you have to intervene a little and get them soft and then ask again. But in her case, since it wasn't really bad, the best thing to do is kind of ignore that and just hold steady and wait until she does the right thing. Good. And then release her there. Good girl. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask her to soften, ask her to move her shoulder over a couple of times, and we'll see what we've got. Oh, nicely done. Nice. Very well done. Can't complain about that one. Good girl. Okay, now I'm going to ask her to the right. And I do intentionally, at this level, I do make sure that I turn her. Good, good. Little bit sticky with her lateral movement, but not too bad. She didn't shut down at all. But what I was saying is I do intentionally turn her, so if I'm going to move her shoulder off of my right rein and right leg, I make sure that I turn her to the right before doing so, so she's bent to that direction already. Okay, then I ask her again. A little bit better. Still stick there. There we go. So I was waiting for that front leg to actually cross over. And she's wanting to get a little bit jumpy about me touching her behind. So I'm just going to wait for her. Good girl. You're fine. Good girl. Now last to the left again. Nice. Good girl. Ooh. Nice. Not bad at all. Good girl. So I will go ahead and quit her there. That wasn't too bad at all for her first time working on this stuff. And as we continue working with her and she progresses, it'll get much smoother and prettier, and you'll actually start to see some maneuvers coming out of it. So your turn on the haunches, eventually, if you keep working with your horse, can become a spin or a rollback or whatever. You know, your picking up the shoulder will definitely become a leg yield, which is foundation for all of your lateral movements. So if you ever want to do shoulder in and haunches and all those kinds of things, you know, you have to start in the leg yield. And so this is all just the beginning for her. And like I talked about, it just is giving her a job. So she's learning to work with me a little bit better instead of wanting to have that little bit of resistance here and there. She's learning to kind of, you know, soften and pay attention to what I'm asking her to do and respond to me in a soft way instead of wanting to shut down or toss her head or whatever. And it's keeping her attention better so she's not going to be so distracted about what's going on around her.